Unfair question, because you don't have any idea what work she has done, what she has done as a person, the sacrifices. The storm inside the Brown family has reached a level of chaos that fans of sister wives never thought possible. For years, we've seen Kody Brown try to present himself as the head of a united, loving, faith-filled household. For years, Robyn Brown was presented as the loyal wife, the chosen partner who seemed untouchable in Kody's world. But what's happening now is nothing short of catastrophic. The shocking twist, it all centers around Aurora, Robyn's daughter, and her decision to fall in love. Something as simple, as human, as natural as a young woman meeting someone and choosing to date has set fire to a family already standing on a pile of dry kindling. When Kody Brown discovered Aurora's boyfriend, it didn't just set off a fight. It unleashed a storm that is tearing apart his marriage, destroying what was left of his control, and dragging Robyn into humiliation, poverty, and despair. Hello, friends. Welcome back to Glow Gossips USA, the place where we tell you the secrets others won't dare to say out loud. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and tap that bell, because you're not going to want to miss the truth we're about to unravel tonight. This is not just about teenage rebellion, and it's not just about family squabbles. This is about the collapse of an empire, the fall of a man who once claimed he was chosen to live differently, and the heartbreaking unraveling of a woman who thought her loyalty would protect her, only to discover that loyalty can destroy just as much as betrayal. From the outside, Aurora seemed like just another young woman finding her independence. She worked a small job in Flagstaff, attended church gatherings, and quietly built friendships that turned into something more. But in a house ruled by Kody Brown, love was not something she was allowed to choose for herself. Control has always been Kody's weapon. He controlled the narrative, controlled the money, controlled his wives, and for years he controlled his children through fear of disappointing him. But Aurora, after years of living under that shadow, finally made a choice for herself. And it was that choice that lit the match that set her home on fire. Sources close to the family revealed that Kody's suspicions had been building for weeks. He noticed Aurora smiling at her phone a little too often. He noticed she was slipping out of the house, telling Robyn she was going to work or to a friend's, but returning with a glow he didn't recognize. Neighbors whispered that she had been spotted around town, holding hands with a young man, laughing freely, walking without the weight of the Brown family drama dragging her down. And when Kody's paranoia finally boiled over, he decided to confront her. That confrontation, witnesses say, was the kind of meltdown that scars a family forever. One evening, Kody walked into the house to see Aurora sitting quietly on the couch, her fingers flying across her phone screen, her face lit up with a smile she hadn't shown in years. To most parents, it would have been a sweet, even touching sight, a daughter falling in love. But to Kody, it was evidence of betrayal. Without a word, he stormed across the room, snatched the phone from her hands, and began scrolling. What he found there confirmed every suspicion. Late-night texts, plans for dates, flirty conversations, and affectionate words between Aurora and her boyfriend. The explosion that followed shook the walls. Kody's voice, normally booming when he wanted to assert control, became an uncontrolled roar. He shouted at Aurora, calling her disrespectful, accusing her of being ungrateful for everything he had done. He told her she was destroying the family's reputation, betraying their values, spitting on everything he stood for. Neighbors later told reporters they could hear the shouting from outside, that the fight went on for hours, echoing into the night. It was like listening to a man losing his mind. One said, Robyn, caught between her husband and her daughter, was reduced. To tears, she begged Kody to calm down. She begged Aurora to just apologize, to just say she'd stop, to just end it all so the screaming would end. But Aurora, who had endured years of watching her mother cry, of watching Kody dictate every part of their lives, finally broke. With tears running down her cheeks, her voice shaking but firm, she looked Kody in the eye and said the words he could not bear. "You can't control who I date." That single sentence was a dagger to Kody's pride. He saw it not just as rebellion, but as open defiance. He shouted back that if she refused to obey, she would have to leave his house. He gave her an ultimatum: break up with her boyfriend or pack your bags. The tension in the room was unbearable. Robyn sobbed openly, trying to reach her daughter with one hand and her husband with the other, but neither moved. Aurora, trembling but unyielding, refused to back down, and Kody, his face twisted in rage, stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind him so hard that the windows rattled. But the fight didn't end there. He returned hours later, calmer in body, but even more furious in spirit. He repeated his ultimatum, this time even harsher: end the relationship immediately or never come back. Witnesses say he paced the room like a caged animal, muttering to himself, ranting about betrayal, accusing Aurora of tearing the family apart. Robyn was collapsed on the floor, clutching tissues, her cries echoing through the night. And Aurora, though her body shook with sobs, refused to surrender. This was more than a family fight. It was the moment years of dysfunction erupted into flames. And as if the emotional wreckage wasn't enough, another storm was building just outside their walls. The Browns' finances had been unraveling for years, but the fight with Aurora poured fuel on the fire. With Christine, Janelle, and Mary gone, the financial foundation of the family was shattered. I thought being a good father meant providing financially, but they needed me emotionally too, and I wasn't there. This realization has forced him to confront his mistakes and try, at least on the surface, to make changes. He has reduced his work obligations, pulled back on reckless spending, and promised to prioritize his children's lives over his own pride. Insiders say he has been attending more school events, showing up to family dinners, and insisting that his kids see his actions instead of just hearing empty promises. Some of the children have cautiously acknowledged his efforts. In a surprising social media post, Gabriel wrote, "We're all trying. It's not easy, but I believe people can change." Savannah posted a photo of herself beside Kody in a park with the caption, "Starting over." Gwen, however, remained cryptic and careful. Writing forgiveness isn't forgetting, but sometimes it's a start. Their words reveal the fragile state of the family, hopeful but hesitant, fragile, yet slowly piecing together something that once seemed shattered beyond repair. Insiders reveal that Kody himself has been pushing for more. In fact, he reportedly organized a group family vacation, something he hasn't done in years. His motivation, according to a friend, was simple. He wants to create new memories, good ones. He doesn't want the last decade to define everything. Whether this will succeed or backfire remains uncertain. The Browns may never return to being the close-knit family they once pretended to be on camera, but there is at least a spark of possibility. Still, rebuilding trust requires humility, patience, and consistency. Qualities Kody is only beginning to learn, and ones his children are watching closely. Privately, Kody has admitted to Robyn that he may never regain the full love and respect of all of his children. Still, he insists he will keep trying. "They're my kids," he reportedly told her one evening. "No matter what happens, they'll always be my kids." His words ring with both desperation and sincerity, a man realizing too late that his empire of pride left nothing but ruins. The story of Kody Brown and his fractured children serves as a cautionary tale, proof of how arrogance, poor choices, and misplaced priorities can dismantle a family from the inside out. But it also leaves open a question. Can love and humility stitch even the deepest wounds together again? For now, Kody is taking halting steps down a road he ignored for too long. Whether his children walk beside him or leave him behind will be their choice. But as the dust of reconciliation begins to settle, another storyline emerges, one that has captivated fans for years. Mary Brown. Once the first wife, the cornerstone of Kody's household, Mary has finally spoken words that shattered Kody's last illusion of a reunion. She has declared firmly, "I will never get back together with Kody." That chapter is over. Her declaration crushed the quiet hope Kody had been harboring that somehow, after everything, Mary would come back. Their marriage, which began in once looked like the foundation of a sprawling dream. Kody often described her as his soulmate, crediting her with inspiring him to live the principle of plural marriage. Together, they built the base of what would become a family empire. In the early years, they laughed, leaned on each other, and faced life as partners. But over time, cracks appeared. Mary struggled with infertility, feelings of inadequacy, and the painful reality of being pushed aside as new wives joined the fold. When Robyn entered the picture, the shift was impossible to ignore. Kody's love and attention turned almost exclusively toward Robyn. For Mary, it was like watching the man she loved fall for someone else in slow motion, right before her eyes. A friend of hers once said she tried to smile to play the part of the loyal wife, but inside, she was breaking. Then came the catfishing scandal in a public humiliation that shattered what little remained of their bond. Lonely and emotionally starved, Mary was drawn into an online relationship, believing she had found comfort in another man, only to discover it was all a cruel deception. When the truth came out, the fallout was catastrophic. Kody, already distant, turned ice cold. Insiders claim he never forgave her, despite knowing his neglect had driven her into that situation. Their marriage, already crumbling, became nothing more than a shell. Even before the scandal, Mary had legally divorced Kody to allow him to marry Robyn and adopt her children. That act, painful as it was, symbolized what Mary had lost. After the scandal, even their emotional bond was severed. Mary tried to repair things, counseling, heartfelt conversations, attempts to reach out, but every effort was met with Kody's cold indifference. On camera, he spoke about her with cruelty, declaring he no longer felt married to her, even bluntly admitting that intimacy was something he had withheld for years. The humiliation was unbearable, and friends say that wound cut deeper than anything else. But in the years that followed, Mary quietly built herself back up. For the first time, he started to realize how fragile life is, how much time he has wasted, and how far his kids had slipped away from him. Friends say that in the days and weeks following Garrison's death, Kody became introspective in a way they had never seen before. He reportedly told Robyn late one night, his voice cracking under the weight of regret, "I don't want to go to my grave with my kids hating me. I want to be their dad again." For Robyn, who had also been devastated by the family rift, this confession felt like a turning point. She urged him to reach out, to put aside his pride, to apologize, to finally listen, and astonishingly, he began to try. Kody started by calling his older children individually. Some ignored him entirely. Others answered reluctantly. His first conversation with Gabriel was said to be especially raw and emotional. A family friend revealed that the two talked for hours. Voices raised, tears shed. There was yelling, there was crying. But by the end of it, there was also an agreement to meet in person. It was the kind of breakthrough no one thought possible after years of bitterness. He reached out to Savannah, apologizing for missed birthdays and milestones, for the absence she had felt so keenly. One source said for the first time, he wasn't making excuses. He wasn't blaming anyone else. He just listened. The children's reactions, however, have been mixed. Gabriel and Savannah, cautious but open-hearted, seemed willing to explore reconciliation. Others, like Gwen and Peden, were far more skeptical. Gwen has publicly admitted she doesn't know if she'll ever truly trust him again. Peden, the IQ most outspoken critic, reportedly told his father bluntly, "You can't just walk back into our lives and expect everything to be okay." Even the younger children, who had lived most of their lives under the weight of the feud, struggled to know how to respond. They heard stories from their mothers and older siblings, stories that painted their father in a painful light. Confused and hurt, they hesitated to embrace his sudden change of heart. Despite the resistance, Kody pressed on. He attended a family dinner, the first in years where multiple children gathered around the same table with him. Witnesses described the atmosphere as tense at first, awkward silence, cold stares, but slowly softening as old memories surfaced. By the end of the evening, there were shared laughs, even hints of the warmth they once knew. He showed up at AI's, a school play for one of his younger children, sitting quietly in the audience before erupting into loud cheers when they stepped on stage. You could see it in his face, another parent observed. For the first time in years, Kody looked like a dad again. He was beaming. But anyone who has lived through family estrangement knows healing does not happen overnight. Therapists warn that reconciliation is a long, painful process filled with setbacks. Still, insiders say Kody has shown surprising commitment. He has reportedly begun attending counseling on his own, hoping to learn how to communicate better and repair trust. He tells friends he'll do whatever it takes to get his kids back. The mothers of his children, though, are divided. Christine, fiercely protective, has encouraged her kids to allow their father in if it brings them happiness, but warns them to guard their hearts. Janelle, more cautious but open, has told her children if he's trying, give him a chance, but don't let him cross your boundaries again. Even Mary, whose own relationship with Kody collapsed after years of neglect, has expressed that the kids deserve healing, even if she herself is beyond reconciliation. And so the Brown family teeters on the edge once more. Kody Brown, a man who once prided himself on control, now finds himself begging for second chances from the very children he pushed away. Whether those children will accept his pleas or whether the scars he created are too deep to ever fully heal remains to be seen. But one thing is clear. For the first time in years, Kody is no longer just fighting to keep his wives. He is fighting for the right to be called a father again. Mary Brown, who has her own tangled history with Kody, has chosen to stay quiet in public about the chaos. But those close to her say she quietly hopes the walls between Kody and his children can someday be repaired. Fans of Sister Wives have been watching these recent developments with sharp eyes, debating every move on social media. Comments flood in daily, some supportive, some skeptical. Viewer wrote, "Good for Kody. Family is everything. I hope he can make it right." Another, less forgiving, fired back with "Too little, too late. His kids deserve better than empty apologies." Yet, many agree that while overdue, his attempts to reach out are at least the first step in the right direction. The family's memorial service for Garrison became a turning point. Sources say the event was a rare moment of healing. For the first time in years, Kody embraced each one of his children, his arms wrapped around the very people who had slipped so far from his life. Witnesses said he wept openly, showing a vulnerable, broken side that his children had not seen in years. For a brief moment, it was as if the hardened wall of pride and denial had crumbled. His children reportedly saw him not as the domineering patriarch, but as a flawed man desperate for forgiveness. Privately, Kody has begun to admit what so many already knew, that his pride and ego tore his family apart in conversations with friends. He confessed,